Hello, hello. It has been a while. I have been missing in action for quite a bit lately, so I wanted to share with you what's been going on. One of the reasons that I haven't been on much social media is I got to go to Washington, D.C. last week with my father and my son and just experience a unique trip. We got to spend some time with family, but then also, of course, do all the sightseeing that, some of which I got to do when I was my son's age. Now he got to do it. So we had a great time. I did learn that I was a little too much of my masculine energy there. So lesson learned. But the main reason that you haven't heard from me much lately is because about 6 weeks ago, my divine team informed me that I had discovered my twin flame, or I was spending time with my twin flame, who, by the way, is not my husband. And so I was a little shocked, first of all, that I had a twin flame, because I have heard from people that it is very rare for twin flames to incarnate at the same time on Earth. So special, unique connection. And I was very shocked to find out who it was. And I'm not going to tell you who it is. You're going to have to go listen to either... Well, actually, you're going to have to listen to our podcast episode, and I'll get into that in a minute. So anyway, I was like, okay, what is a twin flame? Because, of course, I've heard the term, but I didn't know it. I only know what I need to know. So when signs start coming to me about like masculine and feminine or dragons or whatever, then I go spend time looking it up or I channel it. Okay, if it's not important to me, then I don't go researching it. Okay, lately, frequency and vibration, oh my gosh, I've been diving deep into that. So I'll get into that another time. So I didn't really know what a twin flame was. I had to ask, and I did not go straight to Google because there's a lot of inaccurate information out there. So I actually went to my soul for this one, and I asked, okay, what is a twin flame? So, here on Earth, sometimes an egg inside of the mother's womb splits, right? And it becomes twins or even triplets. So that would be, a physical set of twins. My twin flame and I, we are spiritual twins. So our soul, the one soul got split in half and it created two separate souls. So we were both created from the same spark of energy or the same energetic flame, which is where the flame comes from. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a romantic relationship, because that is not the case for us. It is just a connection, okay? So we are twins, but in a spiritual sense. And when we got split, we were each given like completely different traits, which is becoming glaringly obvious as the more that we get to know each other. So we have finally done all of the healing that we needed to go through to finally find our way back to each other in this lifetime. Now, we've actually known each other for a while, but it wasn't until June of 2024 that we were told that we were twin flames, okay, because we are finally ready to make that connection. So it's been incredible. It's been very interesting. We were told we needed to do a podcast, and they're like, okay. So I had to let go of some beliefs over that it was going to be too much work. It was going to make me too busy. I didn't have time for that because I already have my own podcast, right? And I'm not letting go of that. So we actually have a combined path, but we also have our separate paths. So we have to keep moving forward on each of those paths. So we were guided to start a podcast, and we were brainstorming names, and she actually heard, it came through that duality needed to be part of the name, because that had come up for us that, we're so opposite. It's very dualistic, and we live in a dualistic world. Earth is a 3D world, and so that allows us to experience things physically, emotionally, and mentally, and therefore we have the opportunity to experience opposites like light and dark, good and bad, masculine and feminine. At higher dimensions, there is no duality. It's not necessary. But down here on Earth, it's our norm. So we are very dualistic. We are completely different in all kinds of ways. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I just finished recording a podcast episode for my podcast that gives you more detail about it. So that's actually going to come out in a couple days. And then our first podcast episode is coming out Thursday. So back to the story about the name. So we knew it needed to have duality in there. So I was out on the trails a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, okay, we're both on these, really far from each other. We were very different, but we're trying to connect. We're trying to learn from each other. So what are we doing? And I was brainstorming, embracing duality, polarizing duality, and things just didn't resonate. And I was visualizing, and I was like, we're making a bridge. We are bridging duality. And I was like, that's it. So that was what we decided on. But when we got together, this is interesting, when we got together to record the first episode, she was looking up Bridging Duality. I had already checked that there was no podcast named that already, which was kind of surprising. Apparently it was meant to be. And she was typing Bridging Duality into, the URL address box on her laptop. And I wasn't looking at it. I was actually looking at my own computer screen while she was working on hers. And it was like all of a sudden weird things started to happen, and it messed up her computer, and it actually deleted important information from one of our documents that we had created. And so we were like, what is going on? So she got a little cloudy. She ended up putting her head down and closed her eyes to kind of unfog herself and connect into what was going on. But my eyes were open, and I was looking at her computer screen, and all of a sudden dashes or negative signs started appearing across the URL address. And I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? So I've never had something take over my computer before, but this is normal for her. So I had to kind of get over the freaky feeling of that. Did not scare me though. But anyway, something was trying to prevent us from recording that first podcast episode. So after that, we were like determined, you are not getting in our way. So the first episode got recorded. Something else has happened since I won't go into, but our goal is to have the first episode out on Thursday of Bridging Duality. So it'll be available on all the major platforms, as long as nothing else happens technology-wise to prevent us from getting that out there. So again, I'm not going to tell you who my twin flame is. You're going to have to go listen to that first episode of our combined podcast, Bridging Duality. And so I'm so excited to be on this journey. Like every time I turn around, something new and incredible is happening on my spiritual path. But it's a very unique opportunity. So I will be, sharing some about it. We've had to spend time connecting and getting to know each other, and that's why I've been so MIA lately. That's time consuming, and I had to devote the time to that. So if you have questions about twin flames or any topics that you would like us to cover on our podcast, because we're going to take our separate, unique experiences and share them so that others can benefit from not only the differences, but how we can bridge them, and how we can help each other. Our strengths can help bolster each other's weaknesses, and the same can be done in the rest of the world, not just for us. So we're trying to help others bridge their own dualities. So if you have any topics that you would like us to cover, from two twin flames that are actually here and going through the experience, if there's anything you want to know or you want to ask about, just let me know. You can comment below. Like I said, I'm excited. So you'll have to tune into that first episode to find out who it is, and more to come. Have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions.